it's fascinating technology, and you're right, in regards to a weapon and so forth. And, something like that. You would think that it would be an easy thing for a terrorist group to put together.
Well, there are EMP weapons that can be. I mean, there's plans actually for building one, believe it or not, on the internet. However, it's fairly. The impact is you might knock out a car. I suppose if you had it powerful enough, you could do something other. Horrible things, but. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, I don't know that our military, since the end of the Cold War, has really been as focused on EMP shielding either as they were then. I mean, back then, when you're looking at a global nuclear war with the Soviet Union, certainly EMP is something that everybody has in their mind. But now, I don't know.
I mean, EMP goes back to the days of Tesla.
Yeah.
Tesla coils and so forth in regards to, using an EMP as a weapon. They always, you always read things, read reports that maybe that blast out in Russia back in, 1918 may have actually been a result of a huge EMP. No one really knows. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's just fascinating. So tell me a little bit more about the book, for our listeners that are out there.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, it seemed a little bit of a bleak prospect, and so but it's really not. Really, when you think about it, people are going to find a new equilibrium. People are going to come out on it. It's just going to take a little while for people to figure out how to do things again. How do you dig wells? How do you cure meat? How do you farm if you're not a farmer? If you grew up in a city, I mean, how do you farm? All these things will eventually, there'll be a new equilibrium, and of course, in the novel, this effect is trapped in the magnetic field for some time. So, in fact, the scientists estimate it's going to be for a considerable amount of time. So they're going to have to. So one of the jobs that they have is to plan for, what happens after we're long dead. What can we do now maybe to help? And so they formulate a plan that bears fruition in the second novel, The Dark Age. But again, there's a lot of good things that happen in the novel, even after this thing's happened. People still come together. They still help one another out. People still, get married. Things happen.
Life still goes on.
Yeah, so it's but it was really fascinating. As I kind of went through this to kind of look at it from different viewpoints. You got military guys. You've got somebody's trapped all alone, by themselves. A woman, and she's 3-4 months pregnant, and her husband, she hasn't heard from him in weeks, months even. So he's making his way home, but I mean he didn't have any kind of vehicle to transport himself in. So she's, they're collecting rainwater. I don't want to tell the whole novel, of course, but there's a lot of things that come to mind. All the things you mentioned. The things that we would do to survive, to feed and clothe and shelter and protect our family. And one of the first things, I think that as I was looking at this, and other authors and experts have basically collaborated, is that the people would flee the cities. People would flee the urban areas, places like New York, Los Angeles, Houston. I think would largely flee because there's with no pumping systems and no electricity. They're basically, you can't really farm, you can't really hunt food, you can't really dig. It's really, and plus the competition for resources would be horrendous if you've got millions of people. So, one of the first things would be, at least that I would probably want to do, would be to get out of town.
It's kind of funny because, not funny but sad, when you said that about people getting out of town and so forth, the first image that went into my mind was the pictures during 9/11 of the people walking out of New York City.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, or even Katrina, right? I mean, what happened when, with all the flooding? The obvious benefit they had was people from out of state was able to come in and offer assistance, but that wouldn't be the case here. But again, people do. People are incredibly human beings are incredibly good at adapting to changes in circumstances, and it's absolutely incredible. So people would make it, but it'd be very tough, rough going for probably for a few decades at least.
I mean, I can't picture. Like I said, I try to put myself into the situation and so forth, and it's very hard to think about that. That this event occurs and tomorrow my car doesn't start. I can't get gas for it because the pumps. I can't get money because I use a debit card, so I can't access an ATM. The bank's probably not going to have my records because their computers are not going to work, so they don't know how much money I have in the bank.
Well, the real thing is, that money doesn't really have any value anymore.
No, which is true. I mean, money.
Yeah.
At that point, what's the value of money? It's what goods and services that I guess will be nothing but a barter system.
Exactly, and that was the that's the conclusion I came to. That people would be trading, food, shelter, animal, livestock, whatever, weapons. I think all those would be very, viable things to trade.
And I guess, for a person like me who was a technologist all his life, it'd be a little bit difficult because what would I trade for? I mean, I don't have a farm, I don't have livestock. Yeah, that's my valley. I've always had this thing where I wanted to become my retirement would be to live on a farm or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I'm the same way. I have about 25 years in the IT field as well. So I definitely, as I'm sure you do also, have a real understanding of how technology is so integrated in everything we do. I mean, even when you think about it, you wouldn't even know what happened because there's unless you're privy to what was happening in the moments beforehand. Maybe if there was any kind of a warning, but something like this, like in the novel, there's really no warning, no chance to say, hey, get ready, because in 2 weeks there's going to be an ugly EMP attack, so you better get ready now. It's not like that. You just wake up in the morning and you see the power's out, and like you said, you wait 2-3 days, and it's still not coming back on. And more than that, no one's telling you what's happening. Nobody's driving around, with a bullhorn saying, stay in your homes, everything's fine, nothing like that.
And then, for me and Aaron over here, what are we going to do? Radio doesn't exist anymore. Aaron, what are we going to do?
I think we'll be strictly on the AM band, no longer worldwide on the internet.
Yeah, we'll just be strictly whatever we can get together. You know something? I do...
We'll be running the state of emergency of the EAS machine. I know that much.
Yeah, it still works.
If it still works.
I do remember how to assemble a crystal radio. Would that help? An old-fashioned crystal radio, no battery,
Well, being really kind of, completely correct in the answer, probably. There would be some components, of course. Some of the older, cars that didn't have all the sophisticated electronics in them, you might be able to actually get them started up and moving. But, now, I don't know if I mentioned, my novel is actually set about 15 years in the future. So it actually takes place in the year 2025.
So you're telling me that Dodge Darts might make a comeback?
Absolutely.
Oh, no, I'm thinking AMC Pacer myself.
Oh, okay.
I've always had the Pinto. Okay, everyone that's out there, hold on to your Ford Pintos. The project that I was thinking of earlier in our conversation was actually called HAARP, H-A-A-R-P.
Oh, yes, right.
Okay, and that was the one where, quote-unquote, the U.S. government was using EMP pulses to do weather modifications back in the 80s.
What threw me off is you said upstate New York. Now, was it originally in upstate New York? Because I know right now they're doing it. They have a base up in Alaska.
Yeah, I think originally they had one in upstate New York. I'm just going back in my own head, my own Wayback Machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did. Jesse Ventura did one of his conspiracy theory things on the HAARP.
Oh yeah, you gotta love the conspiracy theorists. We run into it. I mean, you've been in technology, right? And Jeff,
Yes.
and I mean, what is it? Half our life is trying to fix problems, and the other half of our lives are trying to avoid those conspiracy theorists that are out there who are trying to explain to us the conspiracy theory as to why this thing's not working. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, wait a minute, no, this is not a conspiracy theory. I actually did type in the wrong PIN number, trying to explain it to these people. It's really bad. Jeff, quick, tell us, people that are interested out there, how do we get your book?
Well, there's multiple ways of getting it. It's in process of getting out to the bookstores now. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I have links on my website, HortonLibrary.com, to go out to Tate Publishing, to the publisher, and also Amazon and Barnes and Nobles. So it's going to be on a number of. It's going to be out in pretty much most bookstores. I think will be able to order it as soon as it gets out of distribution in another week or two.
Are you going to be doing any book signing tours? Are you going to be out in this area?
Well, I certainly hope so. I'm just kind of giving the novel a chance to to get out there and for people to start taking a look at it. I've done a number of book signings, Carolinas and Ohio, so it's definitely possible. I'm hoping to try to maybe sometime next year start some signings in some major cities like Atlanta, maybe Philadelphia, perhaps New York. Just kind of see how things go.
Well, that'd be great because I would love to. I mean, if you're in this area for a book signing, I would love to have you in the studio.
Oh, fabulous! I appreciate that very much.
You know what I mean? And so after your second book, and personally, I love these type of book series. By the way, I'm like a little kid in the candy shop when it comes to this stuff. But so tell me, what about is there a third book in the works?
Well, there not currently, not with this series. The Dark Age is basically the second in the series, and it's basically set in the future, and about actually 500 years after this happens. And the thought that I had was, anyway, then 500 years from now, basically the plan, believe it or not, that was put into place in 2025 actually comes to fruition and pays off. I thought about the possibility of another novel fitting in the middle. So certainly there's a lot of room, I think, for that to happen. The Last Prophet is completely is unrelated. I think you mentioned that earlier to the first Survivors of the Pulse series. But I definitely go ahead, sir.
No, sorry. Any chance of a movie?
I'd love it. I've had a number of folks who have read the book and given me some feedback. To say they thought it would make a great movie or even a television series. So I think with the year 2012 thing coming up and a lot of the end of the world movies, a lot of people are kind of have an interest in this kind of thing. So I'd love to. I certainly hope so.
Well, if you ever have a subplot in any of your books about a radio studio in New Jersey outside of Philadelphia with a radio host by the name of Glenn, maybe two girls in the studio, Bailey and Sarah, and let's not forget Aaron, our do-it-all guy in the studio. Be more than happy. We give you complete permission to use our names and likenesses.
Fantastic. Well, I just may do that. Don't I? Just keep an eye out here in about another year or two.
Oh, it sounds great. Listen, Jeff, it's been great having you here tonight. Quick, let's pitch your website and your publisher's website one more time. Give everyone in the audience the 30-second pitch there for you.
Okay. Well, my website is www.hortonlibrary.com. I have a synopsis of the novel. I have the other two novels I mentioned that has a brief description. There's links to the publisher, tatepublishing.com, and it's tatepublishing.com/bookstore, and you can actually just put in the gray clefs. You come right to it. You can download an ebook tonight. And I'm on Facebook also. I'm author Jeff Horton. People can go to my fan page and like the page and keep updated on what's going on.
Jeff, it's been great having you as a guest tonight on the Tech Show.
I've enjoyed being on, Glenn. Thank you.
Thank you, and we really want to have you back too when you have your next books out. Okay?
I'll be in touch with you. I'm very well could happen next year.
I appreciate that. So listen, this is the Tech Show. This is your host Glenn Hahn. We're going to take a quick commercial break.